Hey everybody, welcome to another Monday Minute with me, Coach Nick, and Intelligent Endurance. This week we are going to talk about tire pressure, the pressure we pump our tires to for races and training. Now, generally speaking, there are three types of tires we're talking about. We're going to talk about clincher tires that have a tube in them. We're going to talk about tubeless tires, which are very similar to a clincher tire in that my clincher tire here, it's open on the back. Clincher tires use the bead of the tire on the side to clinch to the rim. In a tubeless version of this, there would be a seal there with some stuff inside and no tube, and then we have the tubular tire, which is all around, no opening in the back, and it glues onto your wheel. All right, so most of us are going to use clincher tires like this, usually on a tri-bike or a road bike. Generally speaking, for most people, your tires don't need to be inflated past 105 or 110 psi. If you're a lighter weight person, you're probably only going to be in the high 80s or mid 90s. For example, I race around 170 pounds. I typically will not inflate my tires past 105 psi. So if you weigh less than me, you probably want your tires a lower psi when you inflate them. And even if you weigh more than me, it's not going to be a whole lot more that you should pump them up. Now, the conditions you ride in affect how much you're going to pump up your tires. If you're on the trainer, for example, pretty perfect conditions, you usually want to pump your tires between 110 and maybe 120 psi, usually what they're rated to. It'll say somewhere on the side of the tire what they can handle, and the reality is you're pumping up the tube that high, and it's just what the sidewall of the tire can handle before blowing out off of the rim. So when we're on the trainer, 110 to 120 will work. If we're outside, usually in decent conditions, we're going to look somewhere in the 85 to 110 range, depending on your weight. The wetter it is outside, the slicker the roads might be, the lower you want to drop the PSI on those tires. Maybe as much as 10 to 15 PSI, depending on the tire, the tube combination, and the weather conditions you're going to see. Now, these inflation numbers, they're lower because we want a little more contact area on the ground. So if you think about the contact area of the tire right here, pretty small. Most people will call these, your skinny tires or your skinny wheels. We want to, for all intents and purposes, make that wider so you get a bigger contact patch. You get a little better rolling, a little less rolling resistance, better rolling resistance for most tires when you keep the inflation levels a little lower. More of the tire can touch the surface of the road. It's not as slick. You get a little more surface area. It's going to roll a little better for you. This becomes even more important in slippery, wet conditions, and even more important if we're talking about something like mountain biking, where you're going to have the PSI of tires way down in maybe the 30s or 40s a lot of the time. The inflation for a clincher needs to be more than a tubeless or a tubular tire, just because there's the tube in there that could pinch flat. The tubular or tubeless tire can be inflated even less than the clincher tire, the open guy with the tube in the back. All right, so to summarize, three tires: clincher, tubular, and tubeless. Clincher, usually don't need to inflate it more than 110 or 100 psi. You can inflate tubular tires and tubeless tires even less, all the way down to the low 30s, especially if you're mountain biking, for example. On the trainer, though, you can pump these bad boys up, and you can bring them up to 120 maybe. As always, if you have questions about specific races, specific rides, specific tires, and tire pressures, please ask and we'll figure it out together. All right, I will see everyone next time.